Welcome to Drive to Run. This video is to help you decide which of the 6 trim levels of the 2022 Toyota Sienna might be best for you. First, a pricing overview. The 2022 Toyota Sienna starts at $36,000 for a base LE front-wheel drive model and continues all the way up to $52,000 for a platinum all-wheel drive. All of those prices include the mandatory destination charge. Also, in certain trims, Toyota forces you to select at least one option, like a spare tire, so my pricing includes the least expensive option you can pick within each trim. As I've mentioned in my other videos, my analysis assumes that you're paying MSRP, so if your dealer is charging a markup on a particular trim powertrain combination, then you may need to reconsider which trim level makes the most sense for you. Or better yet, expand your search and find another dealer that isn't doing those price adjustments. On the 2022 Sienna, there are 6 trim levels offered: the LE, XLE, XSE, Woodland Edition, Limited, and Platinum. All-wheel drive does come standard on the Woodland, but is optional on all the other trims. Toyota also doesn't have one flat all-wheel drive upcharge across all trims. So as you can see, on some trims, all-wheel drive can cost as little as $560, like on the Platinum trim, or as much as $2,000 on the LE and XLE trims. It's also important to note that all Siennas come with a hybrid powertrain. Starting with the LE trim, that is by far the best value in the Sienna lineup. In base form, the LE comes with alloy wheels, 3-zone climate, second-row sunshades, a blind spot monitoring system, dual power sliding doors, and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There is one main option package for the LE that costs $2,300, which gives you a moonroof, roof rails, an upgraded 8-speaker audio system versus the standard 6-speaker setup, a wireless charging pad, and an auto-dimming rearview mirror. Honestly, I think that's a little expensive for what you get, so I'd probably skip it. But even with that option package selected, the LE still comes in $3,000 cheaper than the base price of the XLE trim. Speaking of the XLE, it costs $5,290 more than a base LE Sienna. The unique features that you get on the XLE include Toyota's Softex synthetic leather interior, a power liftgate, fog lights, 4-zone climate, heated front seats, a power passenger seat, a leather steering wheel, smart key access, and front and rear parking sensors. Note that on the XLE, you do have to option roof rails or wireless charging pad, which were included in that $2,300 LE option package mentioned earlier. It's also important to know that if you select all-wheel drive for $2,000, the XLE becomes a 7-passenger configuration only. Since going for aftermarket leather on an LE would probably run at least $2,000, the value of the XLE is good if you want Softex no matter what. However, if you want an 8-passenger all-wheel drive option with Softex, you'll either have to go aftermarket with the LE Sienna, or you should look at Toyota's other offerings like the Highlander. Next, for the XSE, it should probably be skipped unless you test drive one and actually feel a difference with the Sport Tune suspension, or the XSE styling is the only way you can bring yourself to buy a Sienna. For $2,250 more than the XLE, you basically get a Sport Tune suspension, minor front and rear bumper styling changes, a navigation system, and in front-wheel drive form, 20-inch rims. Note that all-wheel drive only costs $760 more on an XSE. However, that's because you end up with 18-inch rims in the all-wheel drive XSE versus the 20s that are standard on the front-wheel drive version. For the Woodland Edition trim, it costs $2,340 more than an all-wheel drive XSE. And for that, you get the 12-speaker JBL system, wireless charging pad, roof rails, all-weather floor mats, a household power outlet, a tow hitch, but you do lose the Sport Tune suspension. Optioning and accessorizing nearly all of these same features on an XSE would cost you about $2,360. So you're basically paying the same amount in the Woodland, but getting an extra half-inch of ground clearance. A lot of that cost is attributed to the tow hitch. So if you don't plan to tow, I'd probably skip the Woodland Edition, since an extra half-inch of ground clearance isn't all that significant. Moving to the Limited costs $4,700 more than the XSE, and for that you get ventilated leather front seats, a larger 7-inch center dash display, the 12-speaker JBL system, third row sunshades, memory seats, steering wheel, and side view mirrors, and the rear seats come standard with ottomans. Note, however, that if you option a spare tire, you will lose those ottomans. I think the Limited is significantly overpriced for what you get for $4,700, especially when you can get the upgraded sound system for only $1,300 on the XSE. So you're really spending $3,400 for ventilated front seats with memory function and a few other relatively trivial features. Finally, the Platinum trim, for $3,200 more than the Limited, you get a 360-degree bird's eye camera system, upgraded headlights, rain-sensing wipers, a heated steering wheel, and second row seats, and a heads-up display. Again, I don't quite see $3,200 of value from those features. However, because Toyota only charges $560 more for all-wheel drive on the Platinum trim compared to $1,800 on the Limited trim, if I were thinking about getting a Limited all-wheel drive, I'd just step up and get the Platinum all-wheel drive, since the price differential becomes less than $2,000, which then makes the value equation much more compelling. Yes, you will lose the 20-inch rims that come standard on the front-wheel drive Platinum, but 18-inch is still perfectly reasonable for a all-wheel drive minivan. So where does this leave me? I'd likely choose the LE unless Softex was a requirement, and then I'd get the XLE. I'd only pick the XSE if I test drove it and really felt like the Sport Tune suspension was worth it. And the XSE does become slightly more attractive in all-wheel drive form, since Toyota charges less for all-wheel drive in that trim. The only reason I'd pick the Woodland is if I planned to tow and also wanted Softex. Otherwise, I'd likely just get the LE and add a tow hitch in the aftermarket. As I mentioned earlier, I'd skip the Limited, particularly in all-wheel drive form, since the Platinum all-wheel drive brings more features for not that much money over the Limited all-wheel drive. Now, to close on why I think the Sienna is likely the better choice over the Highlander Hybrid, particularly if you actually intend to use the third row on a regular basis. The two come with virtually the same hybrid powertrain, get equivalent miles per gallon in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive form, and have the same towing capacity. However, the Sienna is larger, which means it offers more cargo capacity and significantly more room in the third row. Certainly, if you have some size restrictions, then the Highlander Hybrid might be the better vehicle, but otherwise, I think saving about $4,000 for a larger vehicle with roughly the same feature set makes a lot of sense. Note that as you move higher in the trims, the Sienna and Highlander start to come closer together in price, but for anything below the Limited trims, I believe the Sienna is far and away the better value over the Highlander Hybrid. I hope you found this video helpful, and if so, please like and subscribe, and feel free to ask any questions below. Thanks again.